What's going on, YouTube? It's Tyler from Mission VR, where it's my mission to bring you guys good quality VR content. So, sorry I've been a little bit absent the last week or so. I just moved, I just bought a house, and I was unpacking and going through that whole process. But I got the studio unpacked and ready to go, so hopefully I can continue to bring you guys videos. Today we are going to be talking about virtual reality and really what it is. What is it? The future of video games? How many people are going to buy into this? Is it still considered to some a gimmick? Is it just a way to play arcade games, for lack of better terms, or is it something that's going to actually push the boundaries of gaming forward? And we're going to be discussing all of it today. We're going to be talking about the games available, the tech available, and really just the overall experience that you get whenever you put on one of these headsets. So, with that being said, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm bringing a ton of VR content. I've got it all over the channel, from shooters to RPGs. You guys name it. I got a Discord server and several other social media accounts that I try to post and keep up with as best as possible. So please drop a like on this video and subscribe to my channel, and let's hop on into it. So first up, and honestly probably the most important, is the games. People, the tech's fine, the graphics are all well and good and stuff, but ultimately, you look at what's going on with Among Us right now, it's a 2D game, and it's about the gameplay. And really, that's, where we're at with virtual reality. What is the gameplay like with virtual reality? How many games are there? What do the games have to offer? And right now, it's pretty impressive. And early on there's a lot of people saying, oh well, virtual reality is just a gimmick, it's an arcade thing, you play it in an arcade, you get some of these experiences where it's cool for an hour or so, but then you're done with it and you want to go back to full video games. And early on, yeah, there were some games like that. There were a ton of wave shooters where you stand in one place and you just blast waves of enemies, or there was a ton of other small arcadey like games where you stand in one location, or maybe you teleport to a platform or two, and you throw some stuff with the controllers, or you're just sitting in a cockpit in a simulation, which is still something that people do because simulation games are a little bit different. But ultimately, how far has virtual reality come from that moment? And to a lot of people that may not be informed, they still think of VR as an arcade-only experience where you can't sit down and, full-fledged out a major, AAA-esque game in virtual reality in your living room. And that's just not the case anymore. There are a ton of virtual reality games that are really, really good, and they're not at the full price tag of $60, at least most of them. You do have your Skyrims and Fallouts that are AAA adaptations to VR, but honestly, as good as those games are in VR, because they are pretty fun, and if you're a fan of the series, you're gonna enjoy those games. I know I'm a huge Skyrim fan, huge Elder Scrolls fan, and playing Skyrim in VR was pretty amazing. But overall, I can't even say that Skyrim in VR gives it justice to how many of the games that are built from the ground up with VR, with the motion controllers, with the grabbing of objects around you. It's so impressive, and there are so many full games out there now where it's not just arcade-like experiences where you can go in and do a full dungeon crawl, or a full RPG, or a full Call of Duty-esque like experience where you can actually play on some modded Call of Duty maps in these shooters. And Contractors, being the one I'm speaking of here, it feels like Call of Duty in virtual reality, and not just pressing a button where your gun's automatically reloading. You've got to pull the mag out and put a new mag in. It's just, these things add to the immersion, and once you start playing a virtual reality game where you've got to do all this manually, it makes it almost difficult to go back to 2D games, because you have an experience that just, it feels so surreal. It feels like if you've ever played airsoft or paintball, when you're playing a shooter, that's what it feels like, only you're able to do it every day in your living room. And if you're playing an RPG, you can really find yourself immersed in the world. And there's just a ton of games out there. We've come all the way from standing in one location and shooting a bow and arrow at some people to full-fledged Call of Duty zombies. We've come from, swinging a sword at waves of, some people coming at you, to full-blown, physics-based combat, scenarios combat, to full RPG-esque experiences. VR no longer at this point is just an arcade experience. Some of the cutting edge stuff in the VR market, with full treadmills and, full-blown warehouses, yes, that stuff is obviously arcadey, but you can get a lot of these really high-end quality experiences just from being in your living room. And really that's something to majorly focus on, because this is going to be the future of video games. And it's going to be interesting to see how major developers start to implement virtual reality in crossplay with their screen titles. I mean, you're already starting to see it with Star Wars Squadrons. I mean, it's a major AAA game that, thought about the VR market, because it's, quite frankly, it's awesome. I mean, people that have a VR headset are going to want to play this game in VR, because the newer VR headsets they're just the quality of the screen and the graphics are becoming very, very good, to the point where it's gonna make you feel like you're not gonna see the screen door effect. It's not gonna be like, oh, the graphics are cool, it's immersive, but it's not like playing on a screen. Where now we're starting to get to that point where it's the graphics are becoming that good. The PCs now pretty much are all ready to go for virtual reality. The market is only growing from here with virtual reality. So that brings me to my next point, which is the actual VR tech that is available today. And yeah, when Oculus Rift first dropped its consumer version 1 headset, which is actually the headset that I'm still using and I'm hoping to upgrade here pretty soon, but when they first dropped their consumer version 1 headset, it was pretty revolutionary, but it was really, honestly, pretty much just an arcade-like experience. You got to stand in one place and experience things. Or yeah, there were some applications for it in the simulation game market, where there was Elite Dangerous or War Thunder or DCS. Yeah, you could use it for that. But ultimately, the consumer version 1, its resolution is pretty low, and in some of these bigger games like War Thunder or DCS, you can absolutely see the screen door effect pretty heavily in those games. And to a lot of people, that turned them off, because when you're playing a simulation game, you do want to be fully immersed. And it gets the job done, make no mistake about it. I mean, a lot of people still do play, and I including myself, I play Elite Dangerous, quite a bit in virtual reality, even though the screen door effect is quite apparent, at least in my consumer version 1 headset. But ultimately, the technology has taken such leaps and bounds forward now, where we have the motion controllers. And yeah, when the motion controllers first dropped, there was a lot of, still arcadey like experiences that started to just implement these controllers and this movement of around. But now we've come full-fledged around, where we have controllers that map your finger movements. We have these index controllers that, when you go to grab something in virtual reality, you actually have to grab in real life. And this is only the beginning. This is literally just the beginning of where this technology is going to take us in the future, because it can only go up from here. I mean, we're talking about groundbreaking stuff, and this is pretty much just Gen 2 of these headsets, and they've really only had virtual reality around for 4 years. I mean, when you look at the HP Reverb G2, this resolution per eye is the highest. I mean, it's almost double that of the Valve Index. And I shouldn't say almost double, but it's significantly more than the Valve Index. And it's almost photorealistic to the eye, where you're not going to see a lot of the screen door effect that you get with some of the earlier headsets. And you're talking about a headset that's only $600, which, yes, to some people is still pretty expensive. But when we filter in things like the Oculus Quest 2, which is a standalone headset, and that's impressive in itself, with the resolution being as high as it is on the Oculus Quest 2 and the price tag of only $299, I mean, people that are wanting to get into the virtual reality market are going to have an excellent opportunity to get in at a relatively low cost. Because if you have a gaming ready PC and you said, oh, I don't know, I think VR is kind of a gimmick, I don't want to drop $600 on a headset or $1,000 on a headset, well, here you go. You have an opportunity to spend $299 and get an Oculus Link cable, which is going to cost a little bit more, but you're going to be able to experience full PC VR on a headset that really, quite frankly, has excellent resolution, and it's going to make you feel the power of games in real life. And that's really where this technology is going, and we're just getting started. I mean, I can't imagine where VR is going to be here in 10 years. I mean, with the full, the ability, the graphics are going to be almost photorealistic. I mean, what you see, in some of these graphics, when a new AAA game comes out and you're like, wow, the graphics are almost like real life. The graphics are going to be almost like real life in VR. We're going to have headsets that have full field of views, so that you basically are in the video game and seeing what you would see in real life from your own real life eyes. The virtual reality tech is on the cusp right now of taking major steps forward. And yes, there is some controversy on whether you should use inside-out tracking or external sensors, and yeah, some of these smaller things, but we're working this out, and virtual reality is just continuing to take major steps forward in the technology department, where at some point there's going to be a major, I wouldn't say controversy, but a lot of talk about, the difference between playing a screen game and playing in virtual reality, because there's no graphical difference and you feel so much more immersed. And once you experience a game like that, it's honestly hard to go back and play on a 2D screen whenever you could feel it in real life. So that brings me to my verdict on whether I feel virtual reality is worth it in 2020. And the answer to that question is absolutely. I can't even begin to express some of the experiences that I have had in virtual reality that I can't even wrap my head around the fact that, 10 years ago, I would be actually in a video game, in a situation where I'm pinned down behind a car and bullets are ringing off the car. And instead of pressing a button, I had to look and think and actually react to what I was doing to pull a smoke grenade off my chest, pull the pin out of it, and fire it over the car. And the throw matters, the placement matters, everything matters when you're doing it. The difference between just pressing a couple buttons, and spinning your controller around compared to actually having to think on your feet like you would actually be in that situation. That in itself, and that's only one experience, that in itself is worth the price tag. And I paid for the Oculus Rift CV1 full price without the touch controllers. Yeah, I spent a small fortune on it for sure, but I've gotten my money's worth tenfold out of that headset, and I am so excited to upgrade to the next gen, because the next gen has just so much more to offer than even the Oculus Rift CV1. Some of these headsets are borderline photorealistic, and if graphics matter to you and that's what's holding you back from buying a VR, look no further. HP Reverb has come out with a headset. Oculus Quest 2 is a headset that the graphics are really, really impressive. And if that's what's holding you back, then you have that. If games are holding you back, don't let games hold you back anymore. There are a lot of virtual reality games, and a ton of them that you're going to find yourself playing over and over for hours worth, because you're fully immersed in that title. If technology was holding you back, then you already have the information. You know that right now is a good time to get in. You have some good options that are relatively inexpensive for cutting edge VR technology, and it's only going up. The amount of things that are going to be coming to the VR market in the next 5 years are going to be insane. It's going to be impressive. If you are looking to get into virtual reality, now is definitely the time. It is just growing. It's going to be amazing, and there are some absolutely fantastic games that you can play that you don't want to miss out on. Well guys, that is it for this video. Thank you for tuning in. Please drop a like on this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm bringing a ton of VR content, and if you're a VR enthusiast or a VR gamer like me, hit that subscribe button. I got a ton of stuff coming, and I'm always open to suggestions on my channel. I hope you guys found this helpful, and if you're on the edge about buying a VR headset or getting into VR, hopefully this video helps you make that decision, but I promise you it will be worth every dime that you spent on it.